Charge! Hello, Rich Carlton here, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day at fmtrain.tv, where we have daily live stream broadcasts teaching you how to use and take advantage of the FileMaker platform. It's a great place to be. I am once again, first time on a live stream, but not our first video together. Claus Lavendt. Hello, Claus. How are you?
Hi, Richard. I'm good.
I'm good. Claus is here. He's going to be very exciting. He's going to be showing us a server administrative tool that I think most everyone needs to have. Before that, I need to cover a little bit of low-hanging fruit. First off, if you go to fmtrain.tv, you can check out the upcoming broadcast schedule. Go to fmtrain.tv, press the left tab button. You will see the upcoming broadcast schedule. Today is on administrative tools. I want to remind everyone that this broadcast, okay, everyone ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. This broadcast is brought to you by fmtraining.tv, your source for great FileMaker training. Visit fmtraining.tv, press the bundles button, and you can get yourself a great deal on an annual subscription to FileMaker training. So, that's our perfunctory commercial that we always run. If you want to help support the channel to ensure that we're here every day broadcasting in high definition to Discord, to Twitch, and to YouTube, we're like not simulcasting, but triple casting, or whatever you would call that, to 3 different sources. And from there, we don't do Facebook just because Facebook is kind of funky. But we definitely, if you want to help support the channel, make sure that you buy one of our training packages. If you have questions about the training, comments, suggestions, you want to complain about Klaus, that he's way too ugly to be a FileMaker developer, you're going to send that email to support at RC Consulting, and we have a tech support team that will be happy to help you. Now, today's broadcast, we always like to frame the conversation a little bit. Today's broadcast, the level of difficulty. What is the level of difficulty today? Well, it's kind of hard to say. I think if you're a beginning developer, this is stuff to kind of know to lock away in your data banks. But really, if you're a brand new beginning FileMaker developer, not something you're going to immediately take advantage of. As you start to build, because as a brand new developer, you're building a solution. You're not even hosting or sharing it with anyone. You're just trying to get a calculation field to work and give you the number that you need. That's what the first steps are. Then after, working on a file for 6 or 12 months or however long you play with something, you start to use it, it has value, then other people want you to share it. Then you're going to share it on FileMaker Server or FileMaker Cloud. That's where this conversation becomes interesting. So this is one of those things you're going to put in the back of your brain, in your data bank, save it for later. If you're intermediate or advanced, you pretty much need what we have today. It's not my product. I'm telling you, you need to buy it or steal it or do whatever you need to do with it. Pull a gun, highway robbery, whatever you need, because this stuff is really great. We talked that way about Base Elements. It's a great product. I think you should buy that. I buy it. 360 works, same thing. Great products. They have a subscription portfolio. Jesse Barnum, fantastic guy. Claus Lavendt is one of the handful of people, literally I can count them on one hand, the people that I trust to build products for the FileMaker platform, that I trust not to hose my customers. And so he is here today to show off his administrative tool. It's a tool that helps you administer and manage your FileMaker server. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back over to Claus so we can see him here. So Claus, do me a favor. Tell us a little bit about your background. Who are you and why should we care? Who are you?
Like you said, I'm Claus Lavendt. I run a company called Dataminix in Denmark, out of Denmark. We do development and consulting for the FileMaker platform. I've been around for 26 years now, and I've been doing I've been hosting sessions at DevCons in the US and in other places, and I have a sweet spot for the FileMaker server. So I've been building some tools, especially around that, but also other tools that is released for free to the community. So and my background is like a lot of other people in the FileMaker community. I was a commercial photographer. And then I stumbled upon FileMaker and then got stuck, and I'm still here. So that's kind of my background, or some of it, right?
Well, yeah. Well, Klaus has been a speaker at DevCon. That's where I first met him. He's quite good at what he does. He's I would say one of the top FileMaker consultancies in the EU. If you're in the EU, you want to talk to someone there, Klaus is the way to do that. His company is Datamanix, Datamaniix, right? I have that correct?
Yeah.
I always thought it would be better as Data Maniacs, but that's just me being very verbose in my American sort of way. If you have questions, post the questions. Klaus cannot see your questions unless he's logged on to one of our things. I'm assuming he's not watching that. He's going to be running the demo on his computer and showing us the tool and explain to us why we care. And so, do you want me to frame like the initial? I mean, initially back in the day, we had this web interface with FileMaker Server, and it was this interface that gave us all these buttons and switches and things that we could turn. And then when they came out with FileMaker Server 17, they had a brand new web interface, but due to a lot of political stuff that went on, I've told the story before, everyone here knows about it, they chopped out a lot of the controls for things that you had a control on it before. It's like if your car used to have windshield wipers, and then you buy a new car and the windshield wiper button isn't there, and but the wipers are still on the car. So somewhere there's a hidden button to turn those on. That's what this conversation is about, to find the hidden windshield wiper buttons for the FileMaker server and to turn on. So Klaus, why did you do this and why did you come up with this?
Yeah, well, I was involved in a lot of discussions about the new admin console, which is... it's a great step. It was a needed step, but the tool, like you said, the controls were missing from the web admin tool or web admin console. But the controls are still there. They're just put in different places. But there were no collected tool where you could access all the controls. So my tool was an effort to combine those three places where you can control the server and just have it in a single tool. So I released the tool for Server 17, and then they rewrote the well, actually, it's split into three places now. So, and it still is. There are some controls in the web admin console. Then there's some command line tools, and then there's REST API tools. And then in Server 18, they rewrote the entire admin API. So I had to redo the entire tool so it would work with the new admin API version. So I released the Server 18 tool, and it's still out there, and you can use it for 19 as well. I don't think there's any new things going on in the admin API. There's a few command line, as far as I remember, that has been added to Server 19. But other than that, it's still there. It's still fine, and that one is released for free. You can dig into the code and learn how I build it, and you can modify the tool. There's actually a bug in there. It's a well-known bug. I chose to not fix that bug. Instead, on the website, there's comments that tell you how to fix the bug. So I leave it up to you to fix the bug. And one might say, why don't you fix your bugs? But in this case, I mean, everyone that downloads this tool are FileMaker developers, and everyone can go in and fix that bug, and then it gives you some training, right? So I chose not to do that.
Okay. So as in reference to Nick here, it's mandatory. It's mandatory that you will go through and you'll fix your bug. Now, Nick has his accent from Greece and France, and so he can't ever say mandatory correctly. It's mandatory. So yes,
yes,
exactly.
It's a nice accent. I love his accent.
I
He's a
can
great
I
guy.
can never figure out why he's so popular with the women, and I figure it's the accent, right? So
Yeah, it for sure. It's the accent. It's a sexy accent.
ooh,
Ooh, yeah.
sexy. All right, so what do you got? What are you going to show us today? What are we doing?
So actually, yeah, maybe I should just start showing my screen, or
Yeah, go for it. Show us
yeah.
your show it.
Okay.
Open up and show us your stuff.
The old tool here, that is still there, and I know you're gonna throw out the website. It's on thebrainbasket.com. It's a blog site where we share. That's the blog site is for colleagues in the FileMaker community, and since most of our customers are people who just want a system that works, they really don't care if it's FileMaker or so. We have split that into two websites, so that's the reason we have the Brain Basket instead. But you can grab this tool. Sorry, you can grab this tool from the Brain Basket, and like I said, it's free. It's showing the controls that you have for the REST admin console. There's no schedules in here, and the reason there's no schedules control is not because it's not in the admin API, but it's because in the web admin console you can actually manage your schedules in there. So there's a control for that, and it takes a lot of time building the schedule stuff. So I chose not to do that because this tool, I built it because I needed it, but mostly I built it to share it to the community. So I didn't want to go over the top because I still have a business to run. So I gave this one in here, and then you have other ways of controlling the schedule. So this is the part, and then the other places to get to stuff is the command lines helper. CLI means command line interface, and that's the stuff that many people don't like, but this is a helper tool that you just press the button and then you get the command, and then if there's something optional here, like in this command, you need a client ID. A client ID would be shown like here on this server. There's one client connected here, which is me. So you use that in here, right? And you and me, Richard, actually covered this tool, so I won't go into details with this, but it's still there. It's free. So what I did, this is not what we are gonna see today or discuss, but I started building an extension to this tool. So I have extended this tool to include a bunch more controls. Since I've spent a lot of time building those tools, it's gonna be a paid tool.
All right, officially it's $100. If you folks can't afford $100, then you can't use FileMaker because FileMaker is a hell of a lot more than $100. So yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and my idea is that I built this tool because I need it myself, which is a good starting point. And if anyone else can use it, great. But I built it for myself. So that reflects the tools that I put in there. And I mean, to me, it's going to be a personal tool. So if you purchase it, you can use it for, if you manage 3 servers, then you can use it on those 3 servers. If you manage 10 servers, you can use it on 10 servers. So, and if you put it on one of your customer servers, I would appreciate if you pay a fee for that one. But I'm not going to enforce a lot of license rules. So, because I really trust the community, I know everyone is good people. I have a lot of faith in people, and that's probably something that is missing a little bit in today's world. So, not to get political, but that's the idea, right? So notice that this one is hosted on a server, where the other tool that you download, you can host it as well, but it's really meant for standalone, right? So local, so you open it on your own machine. That's the basic idea of the old tool. So yeah, and when we go in to the tool, it seems like something is a little bit slow on my machine, but that's probably because of the screen sharing stuff. As you can see, it looks pretty much like the old tool, but there's a lot of more tab panels here. So what's new here is that this admin API stuff, this is the controls from the admin API you can get to, and now it also supports FileMaker Cloud 2, and it does so by, yeah, here you need an FMID token to put in order to connect. If you take this off, you can connect to FileMaker servers, and you can actually also connect to FileMaker Cloud 1.0.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to ask a question. So
yeah.
the free tool does not connect to Cloud 2. So if you want to connect to Cloud 2, you need this tool, correct?
Yeah, or you just modify the free tool.
Well, okay, so back up. So a couple people are asking. So Oregon Dean, if you're sufficiently brilliant, as smart as Klaus is, and you can go, his free tool is unlocked, you can go reverse engineer and spend about 12 hours understanding what he did and getting this to work, or you could just spend the $99 and get the one that has the stuff in it. So the Oregon Dean was trying to figure out what's the value of the pro one. And we'll start with the fact that my hourly rate is much more than $100 an hour. So if it's going to take me more than 45 minutes to do any of this stuff, or 30 minutes to do any of this stuff, I just rather buy the tool and be done with it. So anyway, keep going. You're doing great.
Okay, good. So so for FileMaker Server, there's a handful of controls. When you go for FileMaker Cloud, there's not that many controls, actually only a single one. Maybe there's we have access to one or two more settings like OData that is not in here yet. Please bear in mind that this is a beta version that I'm showing, so it's pretty much done, but I need to polish it up and I need to test it on several configurations, right? So it's there, but it needs some polish. The new thing here, well, let me just log in here. And I just put in the same host name as it is hosted on. So this file is hosted and it looks a little bit slow, but that's due to the fact that my machine that I'm on now is a small MacBook, and we are doing screen sharing. And that apparently is taking up a lot of resources.
Well, okay, so over here it looks plenty fast. So we would never, just as a tip for you as a sales guy, I wouldn't even draw attention to it because I couldn't tell it's fat and slow.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it has a little bit differences in the layout compared to the free one, but basically this tab control is pretty much the same. I did though put in some subfolders, so as you can see here, you can see the full path of this one. This is a Mac server, which is apparent here. Where it says FileMaker, and then there's the path to the server sample file, and then there's two other files hosted on this machine, right? And you can tick for the clients. Seeing there's I'm the only one connected, naturally, because I have this file open, right? So, and then there's controls to open and close files. Here you can tick off specific files and open or close them at the same time. In the web admin tool, there's or web console. Sorry, let's refer to the built-in as a web console, right? There you have to open and close all of the files or just one by one. So here you get some more controls over that, right?
So the web
So
console is the web browser interface that we have in the product right now. Okay.
exactly, and for as I wanted to collect all the controls into a single place, there's a web viewer here, so I can actually log into the web admin console, and here we have access to everything that comes with the server.
Yes,
right?
yeah, I can see the quick conversation. Some of you are going like, well, why is that in there? I could do it with a browser. But the whole point is that everything you need is right here across the top, which is great, right? So that in one place.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. All right. So new stuff is that you're able to control schedules here. So you can add a schedule. That's one of the parts that I said this is really time consuming to build this part. But I did build it here. Actually, I was able to reuse something because I built the first control for FileMaker Cloud 1 when they enabled schedules on FileMaker Cloud 1. I built a native iOS application where you could control schedules for FileMaker Cloud 1. And I released it on the same day as the Cloud 1 with schedules were released, right? So I was able to reuse some of it, and then I built some more onto it. This server doesn't have any schedules, but you can control schedules on FileMaker Cloud 2 as well from this tool, which is something you can't do with the web console of FileMaker Cloud 2. So if you're running FileMaker Cloud 2, you need to find another way of controlling schedules. This is one way. There are other people in the community who have released also free tools that you could use to control schedules. So, but you need a tool for that because that's not built into the server or the platform, right?
One of the things that occurred to me is on the $100 thing, it's not much. The other thing that does, because there's this conversation going over here, is that it encourages Klaus to continue to support the tool. So if he makes a couple bucks out of it, he knows that we appreciate it. And it's really important on that. Nick was bringing up the point because he has a tool that I think a lot of people build tools, they never get the money back of what they really invest in it. But if he knows that you're appreciating it and you show that, demonstrate that with the $100, it's kind of like with the live stream here. I guarantee that everyone here who watches these live streams even twice a week is getting much more value than the $200 or whatever they spent to get a bundle and support it. So it's the same kind of idea. It's a high return, and it helps encourage the people on the other end to keep going. So.
Yeah, and actually, the panel I was on at Claris Engage with Todd and me and my names, Chris, okay, I totally forgot the names. All right, but Todd said it really well. There has to be an ecosystem. That there has to be someone who wants to pay for people's work. So if we create something, we even though we are a very sharing community, you can't work for free. Everyone has bills to pay. So I think it's important that you also support people who build something that you get good value from, right? And I'm not talking specifically about me because this is, yeah, it's nice, but it's not a major part of my business. So, but anyway, there's the schedule stuff here, and you can control all the types of schedules, including script schedules, and basically all the schedules that controls that you had in FileMaker Server 16 console. They are now in here where you can control them, right? So the next tab here is basically what I just showed before, where you can put in here saying there's a command line that you would like to know about the status file and then a file ID. So let's check a file ID over here and say, let's say 49. Okay. So we can put in 49 here. So the idea with the other tool is that you copy this command and then you paste it onto the server and then you run it in the terminal, right? But since this one is hosted, I placed a button here saying run the command. So right now I'm running the command that is here.
That's me clapping. That's me clapping.
On the server, and then the dialog here returns the response. So it says, yeah, there were no errors in running this. It's 49. There's the name. There's the status. There's the size of it, and all the information that you get back from this command. So now I just ran a command directly on the server and got it back here. So I don't have to log into the server via SSH or witches. And SSH is that, does everyone know what that is, or should I
basically it's a remote command line capability for those of you who don't know what that is. So for those of you who don't understand command line, it's a mess, and if you're a real computer like programmery kind of person, it's a lot of fun. But this removes a whole level of complexity here.
So then you can run all the commands here. So one of the things that we talked specifically about were when we ran through this was that in here backups, there's backups daily at midnight. So for example, we have a big customer that is a music venue, and they have concerts that is running across midnight. So midnight is one of the most terrible times to run a backup. So we need to disable this backup, but there's no way to disable this. You can see the next one is running at midnight here, but I cannot disable it here. There's no button for that. But the trick is to say we need to find, where is it? Run, enable or disable schedule, and then the automatic. This is the fun thing, because the automatic backup that runs every midnight is actually a schedule. That's a backup schedule that is hidden from you in the web console, but we can get to it here because that's schedule number 1. So what I just did here were saying, please disable the schedule 1, and here's the username and password. And don't worry, for this server, it's just for the demoing purpose. So the password is not, it's not a safe one. So when I run this command on the server, it says, oh, damn. So sometimes you get this one, yes or no, and I have no way of responding to this one. So the trick is to say, okay, I'm going to run this again, but with a -y, meaning that, I'm saying yes to the next dialog. So don't ask me if I want to disable. Yes, I will. And now you can see, now it's disabled here in the dialog.
Okay? Yeah, you might want to make a note about that, right? So the yes part, that way we...
This is actually, and this is actually new that that you get these ones as far as, well, no, it's not new. It's because before you just copy and pasted this dialog into a terminal prompt, and then you would get the question there, and then you could make the decision yes or no, right? Right. So I need to add this one. So this is still a beta. So I need to add these ones. I need to run all the commands and make sure that I put in the -y for those. But anyway, we got a confirmation here from the dialog that yes, we did do that. But let's go into the web console and say next backup is disabled, right?
Okay.
So it actually worked.
I do have a question. I remember us going through and talking about this? Wasn't there a schedule 0 or something?
No.
No. So
schedule 1
is the first schedule. Okay.
Yeah, and this is the note from the free tool.
Okay.
This is also in the free tool, where you can disable daily midnight backup by disabling schedule 1, right? So Yeah, so that's the command line. So the stuff you can't get to with the web console or main or admin API, you can go in and find them here.
The cache is a big one. Data cache, set the cache. Yeah. That's a big one.
You can actually do that here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the admin API.
Yep. So for those of you wondering about this, the database cache on the server, Claris always sets it to something grossly stupid like 128 megs or whatever the current default is. It seems to vary a little bit, but it's always too small. Even if your server has lots of RAM, it's too small. Now, I got a question. Can you change the cache size on Cloud2? It seems to me that would be...
No.
No? Okay.
No, we don't have... There's very limited controls on Cloud2.
Okay.
There's a few, but it's mainly just a few switches to switch data API on and off, and then there's OData. I don't know if I can't remember if there's one more control that you can switch on and off, but it's very, very limited, which is, well, we are not really using FileMaker Cloud 2 because it's very limited, and it's not meant, in my opinion, it's not meant for more advanced hosting. It's a great hosting offering for the new people who are coming in and building their first new app, and then they need a place to host it, and then FileMaker Cloud 2 is a perfect way of doing that. So in my opinion, they should target that much more towards all the new people that we would like to get onto our platform.
Yep.
And then when we get some more advanced needs, like if you need server-side plugins or you need some other stuff, then you are gonna look at FileMaker Server, either hosting yourself or having some of the people in the community that does these services, ourselves included, to help run a FileMaker server, right? Okay, so this is the command stuff. So one other thing that is missing completely from everything, which is logs. And I say completely, that's not entirely true, but when you go into configuration and logging, then you can't watch it, but you can download a log file to your machine, and that is not supposed to work in here because it's a web viewer, right? So if you run this in a web browser, you can download the log file, and then you would have to open that log file and look at it.
That's a pain in the butt. That's a pain in the butt. It just is.
It is.
So, but tell us, how can you make our lives better?
Yeah. So, like I said, I needed a way of doing this. Sorry, I'm just let me 2 seconds because I want to go to the.
That's fine. Why don't you reset yourself? I'm going to take some questions right here. One question came up. Someone asked, "Hey, what's a good cache size for your FileMaker server?" The running rule of thumb for the formula for that is you take the total amount of RAM in gigabytes, divide it by 2, and then minus 1. So, as an example, if you had 16 gigabytes on your FileMaker server, you would set the cache size to 16 divided by 2, which is 8, minus 1 is 7. So 7,000 megabytes or 7 gigs would be the correct answer. That's an official Claris formula, I think.
Who said that?
That's been that way for a while.
Okay. Sorry, I don't want to sound like I know better, but
well, you may know better if it's changed lately, but it hasn't.
There's no simple answer to that question.
Well, it depends on if you're using a lot of WebDirect, right? I'm answering the question generally a little generically, but yeah, if you're using a lot of WebDirect, then that will burn more on that side. You would lower your cache, right?
If you would like to run PSOS sessions, that's a client running on the server. If you take up all the memory for a database cache, then you have much less power for PSOS. You have much less power for server-side processing. You have much less for web direct clients. So there's and then the operating system itself needs some memory. So there's no great formula, because like Windows, that needs at least 2 gigabytes just by itself, right?
Don't run FileMaker servers unless you have at least 16 gigs of memory on them. If you're running less than that, then please don't ask me the formula, right? So yeah, I try not to be excessively cheap, right? So, and I'm not complaining. Klaus is right. It's a moving target. The problems I'm answering, if people leave it in its generic default state, the memory will be misappropriated. It'll be grossly misappropriated. It'll be very, very light on the cache, and the FileMaker server will beat the hell out of the hard drive moving data on and off. So,
but it also depends on your solution, right? And it depends on how many records you have and how big the solution is, and which areas of the solution that you're using more and which you're not using that much. So there's a lot of factors in there to give us a good answer to the cache, right? So that's just and maybe we disagree there, Richard.
No, I did once again, this is a function of training beginning and intermediate versus an advanced person, right? Because technically, okay, so Ken Tooley, who's not a most advanced senior guy, here's the answer, Ken. So wait for your head to explode. Technically, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pull the top call statistics out, and then as you run a battery of tests on your FileMaker server, you're supposed to watch the cache hit percentage and watch the other percentages going up and down on your machine, and keep changing the values until you reach an optimal level. Okay, so the problem is that some of the answers we give are targeted towards specific individuals, and some of them are for, like, if you're TK55678 and Jacob Taylor, it's do an analysis for an hour and watch it, beat on it, and then come up with your formula based upon what you're doing under your load. If you're looking for a generic number, and you're a generic database user, and so they're not using a ton of schedules, they're using some PSOS, they may or may not be using WebDirect at all. I don't know what to tell you. The problem is the answer depends upon the person asking the question and listening to the answers. It's two different demographics, and that's kind of, so once again, Klaus is operating at the TK Jacob Taylor level. And for those of you I left you out, that's also Andre, I know, and NJ, and probably Oregon Dean to a degree. Some of you folks are very, 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 very senior coders, like serious coders, in which case the answer is use the cache settings, do the top call analysis, and go figure it out for yourself. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that that there's nuances to it. So there's no straight rule that can apply always. It's nice to have some guidelines and a formula saying, okay, so if you're doing this, then you're not completely way off. But I think it's okay that you know that there's more to it. And you don't need to learn everything on the first day that you sit your foot into the server room, right? So you just know that there's more.
Yep.
Right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Once again, I'm looking at the list of people here, and I've got 4 or 5 guys that. I'm not talking about lurkers, right? So I've got a number of people lurking, but if I look at the people like Mike in New Zealand, Mike, I don't know what your level is really. Robert in Katrina, Texas, I'm not sure what your level is. J.A. McRae, I don't know what your level is. Michael Gravels around a lot. I really don't know where you folks are at in terms of your skill set. I just want to make sure that we answer a generic question that you can take. Understand that as you become more very seniory, if you want to become more of a server seniory person. Listen, there are a lot of FileMaker developers that cannot install FileMaker Server on a machine. They are fairly talented, but getting under the hood on a Windows, 2019 or 2020 or whatever the version of Windows is, it's not their thing. And so
there's nothing wrong with that. But that's the thing. If you put a lot of load on the server, eventually it will become slow because it's trying to do all the stuff. And if you are setting the database cache, then you're already reserving a part of the memory to the database cache, and that part you that is reserved, you cannot use for PSOS clients or WebDirect or other stuff on the machine. So it's about what you can reserve and not. And SASE, maybe you should explain, that's the server-side script engine.
Yep.
So basically, the server has an engine that can run like a client. Or can run multiple clients. So that's the schedule stuff that is running in the SASE. It's PSOS that is running in the SASE as well.
Right. Yeah, no, we've talked about that quite a few sessions where we've talked about those things, although no way of knowing if the people here were attending those sessions.
No.
So Mike Lee says he's been developing FileMaker since FileMaker 2. So then Mike could probably present on this material. So Jacob Taylor did say something. He says SASE and PSOS does not, in his experience, does not seem to have a memory cap as far as he can tell, so it won't self-limit. I find that hard to believe because it seems to me that you would it would run itself to the point where it'd crash the server.
The operating system will handle that.
It will. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, because I see that we don't have much time left, there's a few things I would love to show. Right?
But Klaus, you can go over some, just so you know. Okay. So if we go over 15 minutes, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, but I still want to respect people's time. So if they have to run, right?
Okay. Well,
so anyway,
they have to run, and we go late. I will issue a check for everyone to refund the money they paid today.
Okay. So first off, a button here to kind of look into the server and see which files are in the log folder. And as you can see here, we have the access log, there's the client stats logs, there's events log, and the client stats log is something you can only enable if you're using command line. That's the only place you can enable that one, right? There's the events log, stats log, that's the server stats log, and then you actually have the ability to look into STD error and STD out, which are some files that are used by FileMaker Server. I'm not going to go into deep with that. There's the top call stat. There's also web publishing engine debug log as well. This is a log that you cannot download from the server. So why not? Let's choose this one, and it's probably fairly empty. So what happens now? Yeah, it's completely empty, basically. So what happens now is that I'm fetching the log directly from the server and displaying into this web viewer here. And then you can read the log here. I could also choose the access log, so I don't have to download the log and open it into a tool. So here's the access log. I'm just gonna expand the window here a little bit. So you can see it, and as you can see here, there's all the events that is going on. There's something load plugins and so on. There's some PSOS. This is, like I said, it's a demo machine, but I can fill a log and say I'm only interested in 638, and then we find 281 lines that has 638. That's basically I think it's called the error codes, even though it's not necessarily an error, but it's like describing the type of event. So 638 is the event saying that someone is opening a connection to a file. So there's a lot of read file here. These are PSOS scripts, and then there's a client as well. So you can easily fill it down on this one. I'm working on trying to read the log as it happens, so you don't have to reload the.
I would love that.
And if I get some time, I want to try to put in, like, when we have the stats log or the top call log, that we have a better way of showing that. So maybe this one is a big one, I think maybe, or okay, yeah. So as you can see, right now we're displaying line 1 through 5,000, and there's actually 281,843 lines in this log. So it's a very big log. But
okay, hold up, just real quick. So when you're asking the question about determining the cache size, this is one of the areas you have to consult right here. And as you do stuff, you will see how the cache is hitting, and it's enough or not enough or whatever. So one of the things you use to determine the formula, if you want to really have it custom for your setup, is to review this, which is really useful. So
yeah, and as it is right now, this is just displayed right as they appear in the log. There's just put in some line numbers, but other than that, this is just plain showing it. But you don't have to download it and then open it. You can go in and look at some. And I actually saw that one of your guys did build a tool where you can put in the file, and then you can show something in a better way. My idea was to put in a graphic graph where you can look at these numbers in a similar way that we were able to in the 16 version of the admin console.
We have a question. The question from Canberra57 is, does your tool work when the server is the new FileMaker server on Linux version?
Yes, and when I say yes, it means that I need to run some tests, and I'm unsure if every single thing is working on the Linux, but probably 90 to 99% of the tools here will work. Because the Linux version is very similar to a Mac version or Windows.
By the way, how's that going on it's been out there for people as a preview. They can download the preview and play with it. And they brought, John Thatcher back to kind of unkink it. Is it looking pretty solid yet? Have you played with it too much? Because we're just about to...
Yeah, it's... I'm really excited about it. So...
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, and I'm not gonna go into much details about it, because maybe I know more than some people do. So, but this is something I look forward to.
Well, let me ask a question. Since you're really deep into the Linux one, when they ship it, do you want to come back and spend a couple days with us, and walk through it and show people this thing?
Sure, I have a plan of building a step-by-step tool in FileMaker to basically install and set it up, because Linux is a different beast than Windows and Mac, where you just have an installer, you run, and then you're up and running, right? So the Linux version is for advanced people, and in my view, it's a professional version of FileMaker Server. And when I say professional, it's for people like me and like your company and some of the other FBAs, or what we are called nowadays, that are running a bunch of servers and helping and hosting for customers as well. Because we're able to run that on Linux.
Well,
if you're a new one or intermediate, I wouldn't recommend you to dig into the Linux, other than if you want to, just because you have some interest in Linux. But other than that, it's not for the new ones. If you're new on the platform and you want to run your FileMaker server yourself, buy a Mac or buy a Windows and then run it there. Because that's much easier to understand. It's more graphical there.
By the way, so some of the advanced people here are already saying they're breaking out their credit card again if you have a tool that will make that better. So, tell your customer that if they want to do that, then you're welcome back to give us a dog and pony show. So.
Actually, I think there's that tool is. I'm not planning on doing a paid tool. I'm planning on doing a free tool there. So, but if you want, there's actually a donate button right at the bottom of the brain basket. So if you want to chip in to our Friday bar, you're of course always welcome, right?
Ah, okay.
So anyway, I just wanted to show that if you have a log file here, you can also drag and drop it in here, and then it will display in here. So you can actually take, and come on, sorry, stuff is a little bit slow here. It's supposed to work. Maybe there's a bug here. Okay, anyway, no, there it is, right? So you can drag and drop it, and then you have access to the, so if you have any other log file laying around, or you just download it, this is a way to put it in there, right? I can also access it here. It looks like there's a little bug here because it was supposed to show these line numbers here. So, for example, I should be able to look for a specific client, VM admin, or I could say Mac. And this is something that there was something in Server 16, but I think this is a nice way of looking into the logs. All right, so this is the log, and maybe I'll put in some more stuff that is more related to the stats log, so it's easier to look into the stats logs, the client stat and the server stat and the top call stat, right?
Yep.
So another this part is actually also something I released for free on the Brain Basket. So just to explain this extremely brief, when you're running a backup on your FileMaker server and you want to do a remote backup, which is a good thing to do. So a good backup strategy is to have multiply local backups that are local to the server, and then once every night or whatever time fits, once every day or night, you move a copy of a backup to a remote server. So in case that the server and its backup is burning down, then you have a backup in another location, right? So we are using retrospect. I can't even pronounce that.
Retrospect.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Richard. Which is a well-known backup tool. It's fairly expensive. It has been around for at least 20 or 30 years. So we use that, but in order to not move all the bits and bytes, it is doing, which is called so it will look into the files and only move what has been changed, right? But when you're doing a FileMaker backup, it will always put a timestamp, which means that you have a backup schedule for just a remote backup where you keep just one copy of your backup file but the top level folder where all the backup files sits in, that changes every day because there's a new timestamp there. So the idea with this tool is that after the backup has run, you can run this script where it goes in and change and remove the timestamp. Then the remote backup tool, like the retrospect or whatever tool you're using to move that copy, it will look at a folder that just says remote backup with no timestamp, for example, and then it will be able to pick just the bits and bytes that has been changed instead of moving the entire backup every night, right? So it will move that, and after that remote backup has run, then we are gonna change it back and put in the timestamp again, so that FileMaker Server will be able to do its backup. And FileMaker backup will only back up the parts that has been changed, right? So that's the idea with this tool. It's as a standalone. It's also on the Brain Basket. It's for free, completely open. You can go in and use that. But since I'm using this remote backup software, I just wanted to put it in here because I want to use it. So that's the idea. We have the web console. there's something about SSL certificate. The idea here is, and this part is not done yet, but the idea is that right now in the web console, we have the ability to import the SSL certificate, but we miss we need all the part that is about requesting a certificate. So Richard, you and me has been doing a couple of videos back with FileMaker Server 14, I think, and 15 about SSL certificates. And with the new server tool, admin console in 17, they removed all the part of requesting a certificate. So the only way you can request a certificate, you need to do that command line. So that part is actually in here. It's also in the free tool. But I'm gonna do this so that you can just run it off the server, and then you can get the stuff here and send it to your certificates vendor, where you can purchase a signed certificate, and then you can put it in here and say install it, and then it's back on. So because you can do everything command line. So that's the idea of the SSL certificate. Okay. And as said, we did a lot of videos around this, so you can look back. I also did a server session back in 17, I think 2017 or 18 at DEF CON about that is server essentials or server basics, where I also cover the SSL. So,
yep, SSL. Yeah, we talk about that.
Yeah, right.
And
so.
Yeah, what is this? What is this?
That's actually what is most exciting for me, right? So data migration. This is also, I also did a free tool for data migration. So that's basic. Data migration is a command line tool that Claris created so that we could do development on a development server, and then we could take a copy of that and put and then do a data migration of the live data into the new version, and then host the new version with the production data on our server. It's a great tool. It's so awesome, and it's fast as very fast.
This is this is the data migration tool, right? The data the DMT or the FDMT. Yeah. So this is cool.
Yeah. And this one is actually just a wrapper for that. This tool basically is also on the Brain Basket, free as a standalone, and it's free and open. So if you want to go in and play with it yourself, you can just do that. But essentially, it is just writing the commands that are needed for the command line tool, and then you can run it directly from the tool, so you don't have to go to the terminal and do it, right? So I needed this, I wanted this tool. There are some fully automatic data migration tool there. Todd Geist has Otto, which is a fully automated one, and I know Jesse has the 360 deploy, I think it's called. So they are fully automatic, those tools, which is fine and nice, but sometimes I just need something a little bit more simple, and to me this tool is more simple, and it has a lot of features that I need for most servers, so it's more easy for me to just host it. So anyway, so what does this do? Well, we have actually a portal here, so you can create more rows here if you have several files, right? So okay, and now my machine is playing with me, so you can put in more here, or in this demo I'm just doing one. So I'm gonna pick the file from a list of files. This list of files is something that we already pulled for the admin API, right? So you put in the account name, the password, and if it were encrypted, this is just a test file, so it's not encrypted, but if it were encrypted, you put in the encryption key here. right? And then you have a clone. I'm not going to go into details on how the data migration works in specifics, but you need a clone of your new version, right? So I have hosted on this machine, I have this one test underscore WV. Don't know, it was just a random file I put up there. So it's hosted there, and I have a new version of this one. I have a clone where I did something different, and I just put in the account name and the password, right? So, and if you're interested, maybe I should show this just in order to prove it. So if I can find it, where is it? So this is the file. It has 78 records, but pretty much nothing. It's a single layout, no fields even. So this is the one that is hosted, right? So I'm just going to close it up again. So the idea is that you have a clone here, and I did create a clone of this file. I created a new version where I put in some fields, right? So I put in the clone here. There's some options here I can put in, and then I can say, okay, so let's run the data migration. Okay, so first off, I'm going to just show you briefly here. This is the server. Here's the file that is actually hosted right now. So I shouldn't touch this one. Okay, and this is sitting on the server. And as you can see, I just have the into the FileMaker server data and documents. I have the documents folder open here, and there's nothing in here, right? So let's go back to the tool and say run the data migration on the files here, right? So you just get a warning, do you want to run this data migration process? And it can take some time depending on the sizes of your of the files that you are going to process, and there's no way of aborting this process. So you need to be sure. Let's say yes, I would like to do that. So I'm clicking OK, and then there's supposed to be another. So what happened here?
Well, we had shot some videos on the data migration tool and talking about it. This is a wrapper application, but this stuff is really great. So if you have questions about what the data migration tool is, we definitely have training on that.
So what happens now is actually that this one is running now, and it ran fast because it was just a small. So the dialog you get here is just a reminder that the original file that were hosted before we ran this process is to be found on the server. So I'm going to show you afterwards, but this is the log you get. So what happens down here is that we start closing the file. So we are telling the FileMaker server that please close this file because we are now going to run a data migration. So we're closing it, and then we are running the data migration, which is happening here, where it says this is the log that we get out of the data migration. It says that the accounts and the source and the fields and everything. Since this is a very small one, in the clone there's no records, so there were 87 records and pretty much no fields or no content. So this went on pretty fast. But the data migration ran, and then we put the new file, the new version with the production data was moved back into the hosted folder, and then we into the original location, and then we open the file, and now we can open this one. So let me just go in and say, okay, reasons, we have this one. So this was the file that I showed you before that had no fields on the layout. Oh, mistype. There we go. And now there are some fields because that was in the new version, and we have the 78 records.
Yep.
With 78, not 87.
So the data migration tool is a fast way of moving your data from an older file to a newer file. The running assumption is that the structure of the file hasn't really radically changed, right, is the idea. So you take the old file, you make some changes, your customers or users are still using the old file, you think they're ready for the new file, so you need a quick way of moving the data over without running a bunch of import commands is the idea. So
exactly, yeah.
Yep.
So this is what it do, but the wrapper tool I put into the admin tool here is automating the process. So it's basically, you just need to upload your clone file here, and the clone file is without data. So it's a very small file. So what happens is that we start closing the hosted file, then we are creating the folder structure, or basically I should just show you here, right? So we are creating a folder structure into the documents folder here, and it's still there. It's creating a folder for the clone, and then the clone from the tool is exported here. Then it closes the file that are hosted, the original file with all the data, and then it closes, and then it moves it from the hosted location into this source folder. And then we are running the data migration from where we put the source data into the clone with the data migration tool, and it's actually going into the target. And as soon as that process is done, then my wrapper is taking that file, putting it into the original location, which were here. And then we are telling FileMaker Server, please open this file again. So this is a semi-automatic way of doing this process.
I like this. This is better than the basic wrapper, but it's not quite as advanced as like the deploy tool. And the price on this tool is amazingly free, so which is nice. But I would always suggest all of you, if you get a free tool from him and you like it, send him a couple bucks to the Brain Basket donate button at the bottom of the Brain Basket page.
Yeah. So, well, this tool, the free tool is not doing all this stuff on the server. It's only I took the free tool and then I put in some more stuff, and the more stuff I put in was to put in the semi-automatic way of doing this data migration directly on the server where this tool is hosted, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so Oregon Dean basically says this is worth every penny, and he wants to know when it will be available.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy with some very high-tech or deep-level code stuff lately, so I haven't had really much time the last 3 weeks to do stuff here. But then, as you see, there's not much left. I need to test these things on Windows and Linux. Right now, it's working on Windows, but the data migration needs to be tested on Windows as well. So there's a few things that I need to do still before the release, the initial release, because maybe I will probably go and enhance the tool. Maybe I will leave out the graphic stuff for the log viewer.
I would for now. Yeah. Down the road, you could come up with put charting in there or something. Would be really funny. That would be great. Yeah. That would be the ultimate. Well, yeah, it just depends on because Claris used to have charts and they ripped them out. So if you put the charts back in, that would just be.
And I actually found some really interesting charts that are live charts. So I'm planning on using use them compared to and in connection with reading from the log files as stuff happen. So the thing here is that when we load the file, we need to load the entire file. Because we read the entire file, which is fine initially. But if you have a big log file like the stats log with 200,000 lines or more, it's a big file that you don't want to load, and when we have a few more lines, we want to reload the entire one. So actually in the base elements plugin from Nick, I know you had him on in a previous session. It's an awesome tool. He actually put in a feature where we could read just from line X to line X. from a file, which is much faster than reading the entire file. So I'm gonna work with that functionality to just read in a few lines when they update. And when I do that in connection with the charging stuff that I found that were live, I think that could be pretty cool. But right now there's some basic stuff, right? So maybe that will be an update down the road, because I need to put this out soon.
Yep.
So
Well, and you'll get some people who give you some money. That'll encourage you, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Well, go ahead. I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, well, that's the tool.
Well, basically, what I want to encourage, Oregon Dean pointed out that you can go to the Brain Basket, thebrainbasket.com. You sign up to be on the mailing list. You get an email. So when he comes out with new things, new availability, things like that, you can get an email about that. That way, as Klaus comes out with stuff, you can get that yourselves. I think that's a really great idea. I highly recommend it. Cool.
Actually, there's no mailing list.
Well,
so
how Oregon Dean? What'd you do? How did you get on the mailing list?
Yeah, yeah, here's another small free tool. So what you do is actually, so when I say these are free tools, that's not quite true. That's not exactly true, because you pay with your name and your email.
Right. Well, that's what Oregon Dean is just saying. He says
then you're on the mailing list. But I mean, it's like so all these, most of this stuff is be aware, right?
Yeah.
So that's the free stuff. So be aware. Yeah, you can see that. So it means that if you like it, you are welcome to buy us around if you spot us at the local, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna send an email when I release this tool to people on the list that has downloaded something before. But and if you have done that, maybe you have seen a single email from us. I don't think we send out emails more than once or twice a year. I think we say probably at maximum one every quarter, but we are not sending out a lot of emails.
All right. Yeah. No. That he sent out much fewer emails than I do, which is great. Good. That's awesome. Ken did ask a question. In the old, maybe pro version, there's a tab for REST admin console login. How is that different than the web admin console from a login perspective?
That is, well, the difference is that the web admin console is basically a web page that you access, right? So you access a web page that is sitting on the server. It's like, so here's the web browser. So that's the address to the FileMaker server, and then it's on a special port. So this is the interface that FileMaker built and shipped with the FileMaker server. And like I said, there are some controls here, but not all controls are in the web page. So if you want to access more controls, you will need to, for example, go in here and I call it main controls here in the free tool. I say it's a REST API. And that's basically because we're connecting via the REST admin API. REST is just the language, but it's an API that is controlling or giving us some admin controls over the server. So for example, on a normal, this is a Mac server where we can enable PHP, XML, and the web publishing engine. When we are looking at Linux, there will be no PHP or XML, so those controls will be disabled for the Linux version, right? So these are some of the differences that we will see in there. But these controls works by logging into the admin API, getting the details, and then you're changing a setting, and then you're firing off a command via the REST API to tell the server, hey, please shut down the XML. For example, here I say, no, please turn off the XML part or the XML process. So that's done via the REST API commands, where the admin and actually the web console is also built on an admin API. It's just a different version than we have access to, which is very unfortunate, I think.
Any questions about this, go to the Brain Basket, download something. You will sign up for the for the newsletter, even though there is no newsletter. You will sign up for something that looks suspiciously like a newsletter, and you will get an email which may or may not be a newsletter, but there are no newsletters. And so then, but I definitely recommend this tool. I'm actually going to go out and find the PayPal button and send a button. Can I send it through PayPal, or how does that donation work? How's that work?
Yeah, it's
or is it something else?
It's just a PayPal donation.
Oh, perfect! I love that. PayPal's my favorite thing.
I haven't donated to myself, basically.
Oh well, I'll work on that sometime. Okay, cool. Well, I need to wrap this up. So if you have additional questions, how would people contact you if they want to talk to you?
So dataminix.com, you can find my email. Even, well, please don't call me unless it's something really urgent.
Or you have a wad of cash, like 50,000 US in your hand, and then you're willing to throw it at them. So yeah. Then you could call too. That's fine.
Sure, but our website is Dataminix. I'm also in the there's a Twitter. We have a Twitter. There's LinkedIn, and on the FileMaker community side, I always go by my real name because I don't know. I think that's more appropriate. So you can get there, right? So.
Now I said 50,000 US, not 50,000 krone. Right, so
it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, 50,000 US would be a lot more, I would think, krone, right? 300,000 krone or something like that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Would that get you 300,000 krone? Will I get a phone call with you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I mean, much less can do it. Of course, I have limited time to do everything for free, but I'm happy to give something back, because when I started in the community, there were helpful people who helped me along to learn. So I'm happy to give something back, right? And free tools that I've been providing for quite some years now is one way of trying to give something back, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's a thing, and I really want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for spending your time watching this. Hopefully you did get something out of it, and hopefully it wasn't just a sales demonstration, because that's so much not what my intention was showing you this tool.
If I thought it was a sales demonstration and you were selling something that was a piece of crap, this conversation would not happen. It already has been vetted by Richard. It's Richard approved. Big one sign. Richard approved. Big rubber stamp. Okay, so.
Right.
All right, everyone. Appreciate it. We'll catch you tomorrow. I'm going to go and exit with the music now, Klaus. I'll catch you another time.
Thank you.
guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected, the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snaps a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.